Welcome back, everybody. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Blackest Heart and The Forgetting Moon, both published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today, we're going to be reviewing S.M. Stirling, Dies the Fire. This is book number 1 in his 15-volume The Change series. Now I've got the first 10 right here. And then I've got the prequel trilogy down here. So we'll go over a little bit of this, how this world sets up first before we get into the review of the book. First thing I gotta say, I read this book and the first three I read the first 3 books in this series about 15 or 16 years ago. Vaguely remembered them, and but then I was at Salt Lake City Comic-Con signing books next to S.M. Stirling. So I bought all of these books and had him sign them. I'll show you. This one was signed. Anyway, and then then we've got the other one. Now let's take a look at this series here. So the first 5 books, if you're going to buy these in paperback, keep in mind the first 5 books are the regular mass market paperback size that we all know and love. And then for some reason, the publisher decided to go with these extra tall ones for the rest of the series. You know that I hate that. You know that I fucking hate it. You know, when you get a nice series like this and everything seems to be going swell until on the bookshelf it looks like this clusterfuck of a shitstorm. I mean, come on, man. Come on, publishers. I don't know why I don't know. I've done a whole video on it. You can just Google. If you want to see my video on this very weird phenomena, just type in my name, Durfee, and the worst idea in publishing. To type those, Durfee, the worst idea in publishing. My video on this whole thing will come right up. Why publishers, when they've got a series going, mess with it with, oh my God. I'll let you watch that one. We won't have to rehash it here. Anyway, the Change series is 15 books. I bought the first 10. There's 5 others that I do not own yet. And then this is the prequel trilogy down here. What is the Change series? Well, first of all, we always review the covers first. And you know, about 16, 17 years ago when this first book came out, it was the cover that caught my eye. I think that's a very striking cover. And the same artist, I think the same artist was used for all the other covers. However, this publisher does not give the artist credit anywhere on the inside of the book or the back page. I have no idea who did these illustrations. But they're great. They're all great. And they're signed, and now I'm starting to reread these. When I read this 16 years ago, I have a vague memory of reading it, right? I knew it was about all electronics, so it's set in 1998. All electronics and weaponry, guns, pistols, tanks, airplanes, nuclear submarines, everything like that just stops working. The lights in your house, your car shuts off, your airplanes shut down. Planes drop out of the sky, and then we have to deal with, nobody knows what has caused this. It's just a mystery. It's an unsolvable mystery. Very Stephen King-esque in that way. We don't know what's caused it. Now society has to figure things out without guns or electricity or any combustion engines working whatsoever. Whatever it is, it's wiped everything out except for their people's ability to they can fashion tools and they can fashion new weapons, axes and swords. They can grow crops. They can still do these kind of things. So it really sort of thrusts them into the medieval ages. And what I remembered most about the series was that, and I'm going to talk about what I remembered most about the series and then stuff that on my reread now that stuck out again and new things that came up. And back in the day when I read it, S.M. Stirling is big on, I guess it's the Society of Creative anachronism. The SCA, you know, the people that go to the Renaissance fairs and they have their battle armor and they practice swinging swords at each other. It's just like a whole group of, what I remembered was those were the only competent people in the whole, after the change, after all technology drops off the earth and is dead and nothing works, only the Renaissance fair people seem to be able to survive with any sort of relative comfort or battle skill in this world. And I mean, the cops can't, the firemen can't, the Marines can't, the entire United States Army can't. Everybody's an idiot in this new world except for the Renaissance fair and SCA guys. And at the time I was reading it, I knew a lot of people. Some of my friends were in the SCA and the Society of Creative Anachronism, and not to offend them at this point, but I was like, there's no fucking way that those people that I knew would survive anything like this. They couldn't even manage the very basic things in life as it were. I mean, the ones I knew, I'm not saying this is about every person that's ever been in the Society of Creative Anachronism. I'm saying it's for the handful I knew. They were like major fucking incompetence. And here's the thing. That was my disconnect originally with the series. So now that I've put that prejudice aside, that was the younger me, people. That was the younger me. I was a dickhead way back when. I have since reformed my ways, and now I'm not so judgmental anymore. I'm not. And so now I can go back into this book and I can read it for the brilliant piece of work that it is, and not judge it based off of people I know, if any of that makes sense. Now I'm basing it off the people in the actual characters that S.M. Stirling has created in this book. I can separate myself from the doofuses I once knew, that they are not the doofuses in this story. And we're cool. So let's talk about this story and my second rereading of this. It takes place in 1998. Again, I told you, everything goes ass over teapot, and combustion engines don't work, electricity doesn't work, pistols, rifles don't work, nothing works. In fact, we start with Michael Havel. He's a 28-year-old bush pilot. You know, Alaskan bush pilots, well, I guess he's a bush pilot working out of Idaho. And bush pilots, what they do is they fly small planes to remote wilderness areas like lakes and things and drop people off for hunting excursions or hiking excursions, things like that. That's his job. He is based out of Idaho, and he's got to take this sort of wealthy family in his little plane to Oregon or Montana or somewhere. I don't know where they're going. But mid-flight is when this change happens, and all the electronics in the plane go away, the combustion engine dies down, everything's, and now they're on a crash land. And the people inside the plane are not only just Michael Havel, the 28-year-old pilot, but the Larsons. They're the rich family. They're Ken and Mary, and they've got twins named Eric and Signe. I don't know if that's how you say that. Signe. Signe. I don't know how to pronounce that, but she's an 18-year-old girl. Eric's an 18-year-old boy. And then they've got a girl named Astrid, who's 14, who just happens to be a Lord of the Rings fan. Like, she's on the plane reading her collector's edition Lord of the Rings book. Not only that, but she's got like a Legolas bow, an actual quiver of arrows that she carries around with her. So already we know she's going to be a badass in this world of the change, because the plane crashes and they survive, but they're in the middle of the wilderness. They don't know that there's a change. They just think their plane crashed. Meanwhile, in places like Portland, Oregon and stuff, there's Juniper Mackenzie. She's kind of like a bard, and she plays in local bars in Portland, and she's a bard, and she sings Renaissance type songs, of course, and she hangs out with a lot of these Renaissance fair type people that are involved in the SCA. And so the change happens right when she's walking home from a gig at the bar, and of course planes are dropping out of the sky, chaos in the streets of Portland, people are rioting and looting. That would never happen in Portland, Oregon, for God's sake. But anyway, people are rioting and looting, And it's just chaos in the streets of Portland. Everything's on fire. People, and Juniper's like, oh my God, how can this be? The power's only been out for 10 minutes and already this place has gone to shit. And, so what happens is, the gangsters, the bad guys, then I think this is realistic. If something like this ever did happen, how fast would the country run out of food? Pretty fast. And especially big cities. And then where's the food going to come from? The infrastructure of our country is just amazing. And you shut all that down and people are going to eat each other. And that's what happens. This really quickly, a day or two goes by and they figure out that something's wrong. Our cars don't work, our trucks don't work, our planes don't work. We're trying to shoot each other with guns. That doesn't work. We're hitting each other with baseball bats and hatchets. And that's the only way we can defend ourselves in this chaos. And cities like Portland have just turned to shit. That would never happen, though, in real life. Portland would never do that. But I'm saying, that there's bad people in Portland that decide to just take over, and they're the gangsters, like the Crips, the Bloods, the Serranos, the Norteños, the actual bad people. And, I think that this is realistic. I think that if society broke down, thugs would start to rule the day because they are just fearless they don't care. They don't feel pain. They just want to cause chaos and rule, and rape, pillage, and plunder is what they want. And they set up these fortresses within these cities. And then the people that are kind of smart, the Society of Creative Anachronism, Renaissance Fair people, they flee to the country to build their castles and stuff in the country. And they start forging swords and weapons. And anyway, our main characters, the ones that crashed in the plane, Michael Havel and Astrid, the girl with the Legolas bow, they adventure in it's just a wild, wild book. It's a wild book. And so people just have to learn again to live as the Vikings lived. And that's the thrust of the whole story. I won't give there are a lot of characters. I only mentioned the tip of the iceberg. There are so many characters in this. And not only that, but it continues on for 15 more books. And I remember reading the first 3 a long time ago, and so I remember vague bits and pieces of it. And I enjoyed them back then, and I absolutely adored it the second time I read it. And Dies the Fire, I think it's a sharp-looking book. It's a great story, and S.M. Stirling writes really well. He's got a real flair for the language. It's not overly verbose, but it's descriptive enough that you're right there with these people as they try to navigate this new world that's run by thugs. The heroes are all Renaissance Fair people, and Magic the Gathering players, and Dungeons and Dragons players, and so it's a bizarre. It's got some bizarre bits and moments. A lot of action, tons of action, people. Just so much action. I can't get over how many characters there are and how many conflicts come and go throughout this, and how many struggles and brutality. The brutality, people. That's the thing that's shocking about this, is I think that S.M. Stirling really gets the brutality right in what would happen if society broke down to such a large degree like this. It's just people will be as selfish and murderous as they are in this book. And heroes will emerge, and there will be characters that you love. And so anyway, I give Dies the Fire a strong 9.5 out of 10. I just think it's a really, really great opening to what I think is going to be just a dynamite series as I read through all of them. So here we go. Let's do it.